welcome back to SureFire Live. Thank you for joining me and my guests tonight. We are going to talk about a very interesting topic, one that, it's a big deal. It's something you need to get right for multiple reasons in your business, for your employees, for you as a business owner, if you are a business owner. There's a lot of ways to do it. And I've brought two of my friends on here to join us with Chad Murray and Jim Brewer. Quick story before I bring them on. Jim Brewer was the very first person I had ever talked to that ran a commission-based pay structure in his chimney business. And I'd never met anybody that had done that. He was talking about it he was on stage at one of the national conventions, and I listened to him talking like, how do you figure out how to pay people that way? Now, and then, I have a funny story about that, and Jim and I might talk about it, but it was interesting to me. At the time, I was paying my employees hourly. Now, I want to put some ground rules out here that, first of all, there's really no right or wrong way to pay people. It's whatever works for you, the employee, and everybody involved. Two, I'm going to tell you how we do it, but I'm not saying that's right for you. And Chad's going to tell you how he does, and Jim's going to tell you how he did it. And a lot of us are on the same side of the coin because we've done both sides of it. But the main thing is whatever works for you, because I know companies that have figured it out on all different ways. I am going to give my opinions on what has worked for me and what hasn't, and I'm sure Chad and Jim will too. So the main thing before I get into it is you need to know your state law. You need to know your laws governing your rules that you have to play in. We're going to be talking anecdotally about how we do things. I have done the research in my state, and I'm going to tell you some of the laws that surround my the legality of how we pay people. But you need to make sure that whatever you put in place is legal first. So with that being said, let me bring on Jim Brewer and Chad Murray too. How are you guys doing?
Good. Hey, good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you guys for joining me tonight. We got a couple early comments. We got heard this one's going to be a banger from Joshua Johnson. We got hello from a Facebook user. Another Facebook user said, "Let's make it happen. I love chimney time." That sounds like Cody. Yeah. I think he's going incognito. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Well, let me just switch this little screen up here. Well, that does that. Here we go. Okay, so you guys both, have been in business a very long time, as have I. And whenever I talk to people about how we pay, it gets very interesting to them. In fact, it's one of the most asked questions of me, how we move to commission. But I also have some people I pay hourly. I have some people I pay salary, and they have different positions. So I just kind of want to open up the discussion. Jim, I mentioned you first. You were one of the very first people I had ever talked to about commission structure. And again, we probably will talk a lot about commission, but I will talk about hourly and salary as well. But Jim, why, when I met you, how did you move your production people to that, and why did you move it in that direction?
Well, interesting thing, I never had to move my people from hourly to commission.
Oh, wow.
When I hired my first employee in 1983, I started the business in 78. But I was working in the fire department. It was at that time a part-time thing for me. I hired my first full-time employee in 83. He worked for me for 30 years, but he started on commission. So it was just kind of always the way we did it there.
Why did you decide that right off the bat? I almost never hear of somebody like starting there. Why that?
Well, I wasn't the first in the chimney business to do it, but I'd heard about other guys doing it, and to me it made sense. And the entire time I had employees, I like it. I think it's the fairest pay system out there. Performers get rewarded and do well, and slackers don't. That's just the way it is with a commission-based system. And so I love it that way. And I love paying guys great big paychecks, years and years ago, it was a big deal when somebody made $1,000 a week. Not so much anymore in the chimney business. That's getting easier to do, but it was a big deal. And I had guys. One of my guys, that was his goal. He wasn't going home till he made $1,000 in a week.
Good for him.
And yeah, so he had that goal, and he knew he had control over how much he could make.
More so than just working more hours. He had that control over his income. If he sold more, produced more, finished more work, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
So Chad, what's your system? How do you do it?
Well, let me tell you, I mean, from the get-go, day one, my first employee, commission.
Really?
I never tell the story because until you just said this, I forgot about 26 years ago. I'm about today, right? So, but my first 5 guys that when they did the work, I mean, they sold it and did the work, they're commissioned. And so I had to learn until I was forced through a lawsuit to learn what hourly and all that stuff was. We didn't really go through to what to hourly pay and commission. Everyone was salary, and then we learned through the federal laws, not the state, because Texas is a wild west. We just do the federal. But we learned that if they were doing work federal wise, now your state can trump it and do stuff. But if they did the work and sold it, and they're more than a certain percentage, and there is no percentage they say, or they say 15%, they had to be paid overtime. So I had a lawsuit that could have taken my whole company down, which luckily all my employees, I proved that my employees loved me at one point because no one jumped on the lawsuit. Just this one guy.
Explain that lawsuit one more time. Was it because you were paying commission or not enough commission, or how did it work?
It was because I wasn't paying overtime. Commission or salary did not matter.
Oh.
If they were not an outside sales exempt status, outside sales person, they were qualified, and this is still a law in the books today. They get overtime, no matter how you pay them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they're really only selling and really probably 90% of their job is just selling and sweeping, as long as their sweeping isn't doing more, then federal law, and I'm not, this isn't a guess, this is the law. You can go to the FLSA and read it. They get overtime if they're doing a lot of work. If they're not doing any work and they're just selling, you don't have to pay them overtime. That's what forced me into, okay, I'd already split everybody up, but I was still paying the crew leaders wrong. So now the way we do it, so it leads you to the question asked, how does master services pay their people? The educator sweeps. They get commission, full commission. And then everybody else is hourly. Everybody in the company. Right. So our workers that follow up to do the work, they're hourly and they get overtime.
Right.
And so I don't share the commission with them. Not that I wouldn't be interested in it. Just that's the system we built, and it seems to work for us.
So that's very interesting. When I read on Tennessee state law, it said that to pay commission is that it actually has to be at least what minimum wage would be. And even if it's including overtime, if they had worked 50 hours, and let's just say it was, $7.25 an hour, you pay the first 40 at the regular, so $2.90, and then you've got 10 hours of overtime, so that's $15, and you've got $150. So you'd have to have a minimum of $4.40 or whatever that number is. So as long as your commission is over what that minimum is by Tennessee state law, that was okay to pay them that way. You just have to we basically have a base that they will make per week. And then as long as the commission is above that, they get the greater of the two. And then our catch is if your commission is below that, we put, let's just say your commission was 400 and your minimum is 650. We take that 250 and it's a against future commissions. That 250 kind of you owe us, and it's a wage against future commissions because it's a way to keep it balanced. Because if not, if you're paying high dollar in the bad commission times and super high dollar in the good commission times, you can get your numbers really out of whack.
We used to do that, by the way, and we killed that because of Houston's. Houston dries up, and so our sales guys in Houston, we just decided to just do the you're getting this or you get your commission. And by the way, federally, they just changed the law where if you look at the FLSA, if you're an outside sales exempt, you got to make $684 a week.
Bingo. So in that way, you'd have to maybe put your minimum to that so that you make sure that they get that. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yep. Mark, in Virginia, we basically were the same as what you just explained. You had to guarantee minimum wage plus overtime if they worked over 40. So if it was close, we would kind of do a reverse calculation on their hours to make sure that they were above that.
Right.
In all the years of employees, I think once or twice we had to pay a little bit extra to somebody. But, that's a sure signal that you don't have the right person on the bus.
Well, yeah, and that was my point too. Well, we have a minimum, but almost nobody hits it because they're always doing better than that. And if you're hitting it too long, I've got to figure out is it something with us? Is this how you're being scheduled, or is it the employee? And there's times that on commission we call it biscuits and gravy. Sometimes it's not great, and sometimes it's amazing. And sometimes you do a lot of work for not the best money, and sometimes you do a little work for what we call lawyer money. And they could never make this kind of money any place else. So first question up, Justin Neary says, how do you track that base versus commission? So Jim and then Chad and then I'll go. That's a great question, Justin.
Yeah, it is. And it really goes to the heart of any commission system. And it's probably the number one disadvantage, and it may be the only disadvantage, by the way, to paying by commission is it is a bit of a pain to track. It's not like, Joe makes, $15 an hour and he worked, 20 hours. So you owe him $300. It ain't like that. You have to track it. And, we've been through a couple of versions of things, doing it manually, doing it on spreadsheets. For the probably 12, 14 years we were on Service CEO. One of the main reasons I selected Service CEO as a CRM is because it would track it beautifully, perfectly, the only software system that would track the way we did things, because you could have a different commission level for every technician for every product in your system. Okay.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Service CEO didn't keep up with the times, and we moved to another system called Smart Service, and Smart Service would track one rate for each technician, but for all products. You couldn't have. So, one piece of advice I would give you is if you're using a CRM, try and fit your program um, into the system so that it will track it automatically, because that is huge.
Yeah.
When we were on when we were on Service CEO, every week a technician got to pay a detailed sheet with his paycheck. On the job for Mrs. Jones, you made this for the chimney cleaning, this for the cap, and this for the mortar crown repair. And it gave that level of detail every week.
Yeah.
That's the only program I know of that went to that detail. There's some new stuff out there. I don't know how they're doing it, but yes, long way of saying tracking it is the number one disadvantage. You got to have some kind of system. You can do it on Excel, but it's not something you're going to turn over to a bookkeeper who's kind of weak. They gotta understand your system.
There does have to be a level of transparency in it too, that everybody knows how much money they're making. So that with the way you used to do it, with that kind of level of tracking, they could see that this is right or make sure it's right or wrong. Chad, how about you?
During payroll, my guy does job costing on every job.
Right.
So it's that simple.
So the technician does, or you have a person that job costs?
The technicians are supposed to have an idea what they do so that they can check David, but no, we don't. They don't hand anything in. He does everything, and then they dispute it. and I think, and they're all listening to, by the way, my entire company's Cody got them all on today, so I don't know if they're watching. So hello, master services educators. But it's funny how they chose this one to watch.
Well, so you have a guy that basically the technicians turn in job completed, turn in all their paperwork, and then he goes through, job costs it, and then kicks out their pay per job.
It's not even that hard. I mean, literally, he tracks all the costing. All they do is just do their work, and he just figures out, like, what we actually do is, like, per line item, we figure out what that costs. Like, let's just go a mortar crown. If it's a 14 square foot mortar crown, it's a bag and a half of mortar, or 2 bags. I mean, I don't remember exactly, right? So he charges them 2 bags of mortar.
Right.
That's how he does it. So, like, if it's a thermocrete for us, he goes, well, it's $600 cost that we're charging before, and then he comes out with all the costs, and all that, and then gives them their percentage.
Right.
And so he does that every job.
Right. So you always have disputes, like you said. Not always. You can have disputes. People say, hey, this is right, this is wrong. And we still have those from time to time, or clarification on what it is. Because whenever you're messing with people's money, it is the most important thing, not the most important, but it's a very important thing to them. And if it's not right, that's one of those sources of conflict that can happen within the company that you have to make sure is correct. And so I'll tell you kind of how we do it, which is kind of a split between you two. We have, when the technician does a job, there's a production sheet. And like you said, 2 bags of mortar and 5 brick and 5 pieces of 2x4s and all the stuff is in this production sheet. And in that production sheet is our profit built in, whatever profit level. So if it kicks out 2x4s, and let's say we paid $5 for it, in the old days, it'll kick it out at $15 a piece, or whatever the number is at our rate. Right. And then the technician knows how much he's supposed to charge for the job. We call it the line. So the line is, you have to charge this to meet our level of profitability. You can charge more, because a lot of times the guys don't know how much to charge. I mean, I can't tell you how much to charge on a spreadsheet. You're looking at the job. You know how hard it is to get everything up there. Last thing I want to do is tell you what you have to charge as a technician. But you have to hit our minimum level of profitability, and then you do you can go above that if you need to. Secondly, though, our paperwork, our technicians, they know our production, our commission scale on everything. So they know how much they made on every single thing. They write down how much we owe them every day. And then we have that guy, Ray. He checks it against the line, like I said before. And if they go below the line, we could have a reduction in commission later, or we pay them out the way they wrote down, as long as we maintain the level of profitability we're supposed to. So I don't mean it to be too complex, but we pay on the gross, but we also check the net to make sure the net was what we had to have. If the net was what we had to have, it's all good. If it wasn't, we may have to make a commission adjustment.
We pay on the net. We pay on the net, and our line is the price on our CRM.
Right. Right.
So, real quick, the way we did it after Service CEO was we developed a daily report sheet, because I promise you, if you got a commission thing, your technicians understand what they're supposed to get paid.
For sure.
And
before they left.
And so they just did a daily report. At the end of each job, they filled in the report for that job, and they told us what they were supposed to make.
Right.
And then our bookkeeper would check it. And if there was any discrepancies, a copy went back into their inbox.
That's exactly how we do it now.
And so that way they know, and at the as soon as they're done with the last job of the week, they know what they made for the week, and that's the number that should appear as their gross pay on their paycheck next week.
So the thing to take. We got a bunch of questions lined up, and if you're listening to this, we got 3 different companies doing it 3 different ways, slightly different ways. The baseline is we pay on production. We pay on what you killed and what you drag home. And we all believe that is the most fair way. And I'll go into some of my thoughts on it. Let's answer a few questions real quick from the line here. Where in Virginia is Mr. Brewer? He's in Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, who's that?
It says Facebook user. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Scott Scraper says, how do you guys figure out what percentage you would pay your employees, and have you ever had to change it? Oh, that's a great question.
Good one, Scott.
Yeah, so I'll start with that. I was in a mixed group one time, and a guy told me, hey, you want to make sure that your pay is, when you pay your employees, it's below 33%. That was just a rough number. A third of your total thing should be is about labor. If you can stay below 33%, that's good. What I didn't understand was that just with his rough number, that should be all in. That should be vacation. That should be holiday pay. That should be taxes. That should be, everything you pay in. If it came up to 33%, wasn't a bad number. But I messed up and thought I basically was paying 33% on the gross of a job. You talk about a quick way to wreck a company. It did wreck me. So Scott, to answer your question, whenever you change and back up from commission that's way too high, everybody's mad. So whatever commission structure and percentage you hit, you need to understand that you're rolling it out and it can't wreck the company. Everybody has to understand that it can't be too great for the company and it can't wreck the company. It's got to be fair all the way around, and you have to have the ability to change it. If you're headed for the iceberg, you can't just go, well, guys, I messed up. We can't turn the ship. So to that, yes, I've started too high. I have had to change it, make a lot of people mad, and get it to the right fair area. And I've had to make tweaks along the way too. This is not a set it and forget it thing. That is how we did it. So Chad, how would you handle that question?
So I have a system for this. So this is how you handle all across the country. How are you going to figure out how to pay a new sweeper educator? You have to go and look at what is somebody that's coming into your business who knows nothing about the chimney business, right? And what are you going to pay them if you're going to, what you want to kind of look at what you're going to give them per job, how many jobs you're going to get, how much could they max out and make a pay, and how much would you equal? I'm just going to use easy numbers. Let's say for someone to work 40 hours with pretty much they're not college educated. You're bringing them into our world, and we're going to say $1,000 a week. I want them to be able to make $1,000 a week. maybe even 700. Just say 1,000. So what in your business, if you're going to give them 15 appointments a week, what percentage gets them to $1,000 on the sales that they could make? And when you figure out, so that you don't want to overpay them. So it's like, okay, I know if I pay them $1,000 a week, if I give them 15 appointments, they should be selling, I don't know, at 10%, let's just say $10,000, right? Or I'm not doing the math in my head, but you know what that is. So you want to look at what the capability of them coming out of the box, out of training, and what they could sell. Are they when let's say you have a 3-month training period for educators, 2-month or a year, whatever. What are they going to be? What are they going to be able to sell, and how many appointments am I going to give them? And then put a percentage to that, to the pay that they couldn't make anywhere else, or they would be making somewhere else with that kind of training. And so I don't know if I explained that exactly right. I hope I said it.
It sounds like you start with the end in mind, to quote the phrase. You start with how much do I need this technician to make, basically, and then you're backing into it. Now, do you do that with everybody, or do you have a set base? You come to work for Master Services, you're going to get X, or is it kind of a number that you move around?
Oh, no, it's X. Oh, no, we start every educator right off of the exact same percentage of whatever it is, and then they got to earn going higher from there.
Right. So Jim, how did you guys do that? How did you figure it out?
Pretty much the same, kind of starting with that end goal. You know, if a good wage for a technician, and clearly it's higher than that now, but just say it's $1,000 a week. What's it based on what I expect a normal guy to do? What's it take to get there? Okay. Yeah. And then, the slackers come in below and the overachievers come in over, and that's the way it should be.
Right.
But, if you're not paying comparable wages for your market, then you're in trouble. You have to look at, what the HVAC techs make, what the guys working at the pest control company make, what the guys working at the roofing company make. Right. You have to look at all of that because that's what you're competing with.
Yep.
And so you kind of back into it, just like Chad said.
So, right now, Scott, one idea might be look at what you're paying now for labor. Like since you're the owner, one of the owners, take out your owner's salary, but take out, look at what you're paying now to get a job done, or what you will, and you're already paying a percentage to get a job done, and you need to make a decision. Is that right? Now, I can tell you this, what the mistake a lot of people make if they went from hourly to commission, what they start doing is they say, okay, let's see what you would be making now. Let's just run a hypothetical that you're on commission now. And you're going to get a lot of technicians that are mad because they think that they're going to look at some of their jobs or you might look at them and some of them go, wow, you got paid way too much. I don't want to do that. Or some of them say, that wasn't good. The thing is that happens is, one, your guys, they will produce a lot more. I promise you. I've seen it happen over and over. When we switched from hourly, my average truck was making $205,000 a year gross. And then when we switched to commission, it almost immediately jumped to $275,000, and then $325,000 and $425,000. Now we're in the $400,000 range per average per truck, the sweep truck. Now that's not. We've broken it up into all different divisions. So I'm just telling you basically what a sweep truck would bring in for us. So, but I can tell you, if you try to base it off what they're doing now, it's probably low. They will, I think when you put it out there, and if, they work an extra hour, they get that job done, they get the commission versus going home and I'll come back tomorrow. Or I forgot my tools at the shop and they got to come back and they get paid all the same to forget tools or not forget tools. Or for me, one of the hardest things is I started to build a bigger company, and I had a lot of guys paying hourly. And Chad talked about this as poop time. You're watching guys on the clock, and it felt like it was coming out of my back pocket when I watched them just talking and milling around and doing their thing, and everybody be out, and 5 guys will still be back at the shop. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? I need you out of here. What are you doing? And then my most effective guys were also doing their job and getting back at 2 or 3 o'clock. And my guys who were like making the most money were also my slowest guys, getting back at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, making the most money. And I realized that for me, I didn't like the stress of all the people standing around on the clock, but I did want them to talk to each other and know each other. I didn't want it to be super like military, like Chad's place, like Sergeant Chad. But I wanted that environment that's kind of relaxed and good, but then I also didn't want to actually pay for it. I wanted them to pay to get my customers taken care of correctly the first time. I'm going to pay you premium dollars the first time to get them done right. And if there's a problem, you're going to have to go back and fix it because I paid you well the first time. Let's just talk about that real quick, guys. What did you do when you paid them commission and there was something wrong? How did you handle that, Jim?
So we would look at the facts pretty closely. And if it was an employee screw up, they went back for free. But if it was, if it was just a random, hey, shit happens kind of thing, then we would pay them. We would compensate them for it. But if it was an employee screw up, then I expected them to take care of it.
And that being said, we do have an hourly rate that we pay the guys to do non-commission work. If they have to do something, you have to have some kind of an hourly rate to get some things done fairly. Chad, how do you handle if something's not done right or handled correctly?
Well, my educators never do any work.
Well, you're right.
They're only selling. And so, so if it's a crew leader that does something wrong, we just pay them to go back, but I'm not going to say we shame them to death because we don't, but in the same aspect, we train them on what we did wrong and we move on, and they just don't do it again. And if they do, we end up just replacing them. But we don't have
a leaky chimney. Customer called, leaky chimney. You went out, you did your best thing on it. Customer calls, it's still leaking. How do you handle that?
We go back and usually we send a crew back out there really quick to look at it, and then they typically will find it, or we'll just re-waterproof it, and it solves the problem. We don't have a lot of QC on this kind of stuff, but the QC that we do have, let's say that we a crooked chimney cap, like it's
right.
just off.
Yeah.
We send them back, and I just pay them. It's because those guys aren't commissioned, so mine's easy. I pay them.
Those guys are hourly anyway. Those guys doing install for you are hourly. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, it's different. All my guys are commissioned, whether they're install crew or they're sales guys or sweeps. Everybody's commissioned. So in my case, if you did the work and I paid you well to do the work the first time, customer call said it wasn't solved, it can be twofold. If you call them educator, we call them estimators or salesmen, if they go out and they miss something, then it can come out of the salesman commission to fix it. If the technician has to re-waterproof it or realize he missed a couple mortar joints or who knows what the reason was, then they pretty much take care of it at no pay. So we do have everybody for me is on commission. And let me just clarify one other thing. When you start with us, we do start you hourly for the first 30 days. That's one of the ways we get people in, because sometimes when people hear commission, they're a little scared to come work, or we've seen them. So we basically say you're based on performance and you get a piece of the job. And then after 30 days, you can move to it as long as we have a part of our thing is you have to I'm stumbling. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but you have to complete certain things in SureFire. You have for step one, apprentice step one, you've got to complete, then you can move to commission. So we use SureFire in the way that you can move through our system. And then when you've completed modules, then you can move to, technician or whatever. But man, we got a bunch of questions. Let me run through these because, okay. So Levi says, do you pay out commission if the job is under, let's say 30% because labor was not looked out for? I'm thinking you're talking about the profitability of the job. We pay commission out on every single job. It can, and there's no there's not a time when we don't pay out commission. I think that's what he's asking. Is that what you guys are reading?
Yeah, I look into it, looking at like my bottom line per item. I mean, the guys are not getting the minimum price because I've already priced out. I job cost every line item. So if it goes on there, at least if they didn't change the price to lower, which never happens, we're gonna hit our percentage.
Okay. And it may be where somebody didn't charge enough, and that was an issue we had a few times because in my company, for the most part, we had, sweep technicians and installing technicians. Okay. Well, the sweep technician had to figure out how much to charge for the relining that somebody else was going to do.
Right.
And that, but the guy going out to do it, his pay was based on what the other guy quoted.
Right.
And so sometimes we'd run into some issues there, and I was always pretty easy or lenient with my installers because I need those guys. And I would look at the job and say, yeah, that really should have been charged more. And so I would pay them based on more.
So sometimes, let's just say they measured a chimney cap wrong and the installers go out to put it on, it didn't fit or whatever. In that case, we might take the money away from the salesman who mismeasured or whatever and give that sales money to the crew leader or to the crew that had to go out there and try to put a cap on that didn't work or anything like that. There's a chance that somebody could lose commission, and then the guys who, basically were on the bottom end of it, had nothing to do with it, couldn't complete their job. They might get paid for their time or waste of time out of part of the commission, or like you said, Jim, being flexible, saying, yeah, that was tough. I'm gonna make it right for you. Now, that being said, I can't make everything right that went wrong. I can't always be paying out when something went south. And because I say, if that were the case, if you want me to always make it right when it was wrong, you also have to give me the ability to take away when it's too good for you. Like when you made $1,000 an hour, like I have to also be able to say, hey man, that's too much money to put, fix that, put that chimney cap on, and you made $500 and you were out there an hour. Come on, man. That's worth $100 an hour tops. Like, you know what I mean? You got to give me the right. If you're going to take from the bottom, you also have to give me the ability to take from the top. I can tell you that conversation stops a lot of that little nitpicking of this wasn't right, that wasn't right. You know what I mean? It kind of, that's why commission works so well, because there's big Easter eggs. There can be really big wins. And also, I found like if we did a $5,000 reline, and let's say I was paying the guys $30 an hour, which we normally don't pay that much hourly, but let's just say we were 8 hours is $240, and then say both guys made the same. I paid out $540, and they see Ashbusters get a check written to them for $5,000. They think Mark Stoner pocketed the rest of it, right? They think, you know what? I'll just start my own company. Instead, with commission, with a fair percentage, they know when we win, they win too. When we lose, they lose too. And we try to then, as a team, work for more wins. Let me run through these real quick. Says, Mark, your sales guys are site managers during the job as well, correct? Only sometimes. They will go out. They always take care of the customer, handle phone calls, handle problems. But I do have a project manager that goes out and helps with some completion of the job. Sometimes we have to pull the salesman back in for communication if we got to change the scope of the work or something changed. But in general, I have a project manager that manages those. How do you manage callbacks for commissions paid? I think I answered that because for the most part, Chad, if they're hourly, he pays them hourly. For me, if you're commission, it depends on what happened. Most of the time, I don't pay for callbacks. Next question. Chad is all about value. He knows that if he pays well, he can keep good and knowledgeable employees. That's a fact. That's what we all have to understand. if you are fair and you understand the value of the people and what they bring, and they understand the value of the job and the setup that you've brought for the employees, they just can't go do that on their own that easily. And if you set up, I always used to compare it to when I used to play music as a rock band. Like, sometimes, let's just say we're Aerosmith, and I own Aerosmith. You know, I got the people in the stands, I've got the tour buses, I've got the roadies, I got the whole thing set up. But you, as my employee, you're the lead guitar player for us. And man, you are awesome. And man, you are amazing at what you do. And you're playing because I set up the stage and I brought the crowd, and I'm paying you great because you're amazing. But understand, I had to build the stage and build the name and set the thing up so that you could play that song that everybody loves and make the great music. So understand, I need you to play the song, but understand I had to build the whole thing to get you paid like you're getting paid. Again, the guy says, value, and that is value. We need each other. Kyle says, I do spiffs instead of commissions plus hourly rate. Do you guys do anything like that?
No.
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, if somebody, really did something outstanding, I'd give them a gift card or something, but overall, not a lot.
Kyle, I'm guessing you mean like cash spiffs or gift cards or something like that. We don't do it in that case. Now, I agree with it. I think if you want to spiff somebody for doing something, great. But two things. It needs to, most of the time, if that's part of your process, it needs to be written down. Everybody needs to understand it, because if one day I got $100 and another day I got 50, and then another day I got nothing, depending on how you felt about it, or if you liked me or whatever, that could go south for you. So it needs to be they need to know what's coming. Now, I don't mind a random, hey, dude, great job, here's an extra $100 or whatever, great. But it can't just be up to the whim of you necessarily long term, especially imagine you have 10 guys. And you're not watching every job like, hey, man, I thought I was going to get a spiff on that. So I like things more written down and everybody knows what's coming. Anybody else feel differently about that?
No, and that's a key point of your commission program. It needs to be written down so everybody understands it. The technicians have to understand it. The payroll people have to understand it. So it's got to be written down, and if people don't understand it, it's too complicated. Which I've seen some guys commission plans that were too damn complicated. It was this for this and something else for this, and just all over the place.
So, Chad, that's a great point. You coach a lot of guys. How do you coach when they want to make a change? And what are some of the big ways you would coach somebody that's interested in doing this?
Oh, I've had a lot of them too. Let me tell you,
Sure.
I mean, most of it's going from hourly to commission. So, I mean, the big thing is the fear. Am I going to make less money? That's the thing that the homeowner, the business owner needs to get to the people and prove to them, you are like that was Cody earlier. The value of what I'm going to offer you is going to be greater because I'm going to pay you for the outcome of your results that you're going to do for me. And so, right now you're on hourly, you get overtime. That's really about the only thing. And maybe we bonus you whenever, but, when you go to commission, you work it out. What's nice about commission is it serves you have that unknown. If I take on a couple of jobs, what if there are 3 home runs I took out on, let's say I'm going to work on Saturday, and I just go throw 3 home runs on Saturday. I just doubled my money for the week. Right. There's the difference for an hourly. Well, I'll just go work and get overtime on Saturday. And so, but you have to help the homeowner, I keep saying homeowner, business owner, to get them to understand that this is really for everybody, not just me. We're all, like you said earlier, we're all winning together and we're all losing together.
That's right.
So, when you're losing, it's so funny how they help you start winning faster.
Absolutely. One of the ways they help you win is they complain. Like, hey, this is wrong. This is bid wrong. This is a problem. And I never mind guys that are complaining to make it better and bringing to light an issue that we need to fix. Now, I can't fix everything, and I'm not going to fix everything. So, and sometimes I make sure that they point the finger at themselves enough in the process, but it does make you better. I tell everybody, I built this whole business on people complaining. When I look at all the things that we do now, it's because somebody complained about it. And we fixed it. And then they complained about the next thing and we fixed it. And so I think it's really important what you just said, that you help, they will help you build the system. And you as the owner just have to be flexible enough. What you hit on was so true, the fear factor. When you switch it over to commission, they're scared. So you have to set up some kind of safety net that it's not, because you can't ruin somebody by switching it, but you also can't ruin the business by having too graceful of a commission structure. So at first it's the hardest. I lost a bunch of people when I switched to commission. If you're making that switch, you might lose some people. And right now I know it could be tough to lose people, but it's to me, it's the fastest way to grow a high performance company.
The people that you lose, Mark, the people that you lose are the people that aren't going to benefit from a commission structure anyway.
Bingo. 100%.
Adios, amigos.
They were never going to benefit from it. They were not. That's so right. Justin says, we are on hourly with commission available once they move to the apprentice to tech, right? I'm not keen on the idea of full commission because I don't have the teams yet to eat what they kill. I have to be on most of the jobs at this time. I get it. It might not be the right time for you. But as they go out there, as you're sending them out there, and you don't have to, it's like you're, watching your child grow. And when you can let them go, you may consider more, when you're hands off, that they have that if you like it. But the key is figuring out what works for you.
So let me comment on that real quick, Mark.
Sure.
When you set up, because I hear this a lot, eat what you kill. When you set up your commission structure, there's value in selling a job, and you should get a commission for that. But there's also value in completing a job, so you should get a commission for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have it set up properly, it doesn't matter whether Joe sells it and installs it, or Joe sells it and Billy Bob installs it.
Yeah.
If it's set up right, that gives, then Joe incentive to get more skills where he can install it.
So again, everybody has to figure out what works for them. I know that's different than what Chad does. I know there's some other big chimney companies that have certain side of the level that is commission and another level that is hourly. You're going to get a group of people that, hey, put me on hourly. I don't want to be on commission. There's going to be a group of people that do want commission. And so you have to balance that out with your company, what works best for you. So, okay, here's some more questions.
Before you get to that question, I think we all three totally agree, 100%, the guy selling the job should be commissioned.
100%.
I don't care what level you are. The guy selling it should be commissioned.
And
you get that base, but they need to be commissioned.
The reason I like that guy on commission and then not doing the work is because he will find everything possible, try to show it to the customer, and then hand it off to the next team to do the work. What I found was before I had true estimators, I had guys that would only find work that they wanted to do. And if I had a guy that didn't want to tuck point a job, magically he never found any chimneys that needed to be tuck pointed. If it was a rebuild, he never found rebuilds. If it was a rip and replace and he hated them, he never found them. If he loved doing rip and replace, every other prefab needed it. And so I really like the third-party sales guy who only can take care of the customer. He shows them all the options. He shows them all the needs, and he sells them on what they need, not what he likes to do or doesn't want to do.
Yeah. And having that split commission so he can hand it off to another team, it accommodates that.
It does. And now he's got to work with the team to make sure he's bidding stuff right, like Chad said, and he's doing it. He's doing a good job of the handoff. But that's the tough point, because it's amazing how if you estimate the work and do it yourself, you never find a problem with it. But if somebody estimates the work and then you've got to do it, you're like, why'd you sell this? Why didn't you add more scaffolding? Why didn't you add a lift? Like you kind of, once it's sold, you back into it. But we've worked with that system, and it works well for us. Mark, do you pay commission on the gross of the job, or he's going to say net? We do it on the gross because for the speed of the transaction, but we back check it to make sure the net was right. If the net was wrong, we may have to adjust commissions. But we pay on the gross first because we've got a pretty complex system on how to do it, and so we can figure it on the gross, and then we check the net.
You're not getting paid off gross, Cody.
It's probably a smaller percentage. I've seen some guys have these higher percentage on the net, which you kind of have to be. I bet once the numbers wash out, they're pretty similar.
They are.
Okay, my problem is convincing them about going commission. Okay, so the question is, why are they afraid of it? They're afraid because you haven't set up a safe enough system for them to think it's going to be better. Normally, people they say people don't like change. What they don't like is how we try to change them. And so you have to set up a system. They don't think the future is better with what you're saying. They think what they've got now is better than what you're trying to sell them. You have to show them this is where you are, but I'm going to follow what some of the best companies or biggest companies in the United States are doing, and they do this. And I think this will be better, but they have to be assured that you're going to be fair and honest and transparent, and it is going to be better for them. If you do this right, in my opinion, it is one of the single best things you can do to change the whole performance of your company.
It's your business system. You have to think about this. You have to give them the opportunity to maintain a quality lifestyle. That's what they're afraid of, that you're going to fail giving them the work. And you have to prove it to them that there is a average level of pay you're going to get. You're going to be able, coming working for me, not only am I giving you the weekly guarantee, and we both said it, you're not going to make that minimum. That's just because they're forcing me to do that. The government, you're going to well be over that. You might have let's just say a crappy week every once in a while, but generally you're going to make $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a week selling for us. And so, you have to trust in me that my systems are going to work, that you can go out and go get it. And a lot of people don't see that.
When you're new, let's just say, I can't tell who this person is, but when you're new at it, you don't have all the answers. Your employees are asking you questions that you don't know quite what the answer is. That's why it's important to talk to somebody, maybe get someone on the phone like Chad or me, or somebody that can help walk you through, and your employees. I've done this a few times with different companies that I've worked with. I've had them call in. We Zoomed in. I had a couple of my employees. I had all their employees on a Zoom, and we had an open conversation about what it's like to switch to commission. So when the employees asked, they asked my guys, the guys who really live it every day. They asked me that I've got all the answers. They're not just asking you, the person who's never done it, and they're hammering in on you. And so that's why a coach like Chad, or a consultant, or somebody that wants to help you move this, that has done it, can help with this transition. I'm not trying to sell our things, but you need to hook up with somebody. If you're not confident in it, you need to hook up with somebody that can help you answer the questions that you need.
I would say, Mark, that if you're thinking about making a switch, you back check a month or so of their jobs and take the jobs they did for the last 30 days and run it through your commission structure and give them that comparison number.
Yeah. So this is like the fastest hour ever. If you guys can stay on, I'm going to keep answering questions. If you guys can't stay on, thank you for your time. But there's a ton of questions, and I think we've got the highest people watching. So I'm going to keep going. How's your time, Chad? You got to get off here?
It's my wife's birthday, but they're not ready yet. So they're all women. So when they tell me they're ready, I'll have to jump.
Jim, how are you doing? You okay for a minute?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I might have to get another drink, but other than that, I'm good.
All right. So, okay. So this question, do you ever pay an employee on top of their commission, such as if the trainer or they have collateral duties? We do. Early on the first month, you actually get 2% more to take a new guy out to train him for 30 days. So yes, we do have that. Sometimes we add some pay to it if there's something unfair. So I would say yes. Chad, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, we pay the guys. They're supposed to be getting paid more. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a set amount per week,
right?
Or per guy.
And we had the same thing. We gave a bonus if a person that you were mentoring, that you were training, when he passed his certification, you got a nice bonus.
Oh, I like that. So you kept him with him the whole time to train him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
And I'm gonna plug SureFire real quick. The new tech modules, each one of the modules has an accompanying coach's notes page.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those are the objectives that the coach or trainer needs to be working on during that time period. And that helps accommodate that, so you keep the training moving forward.
That's excellent. Dave says, no pay for callbacks or commission, guys. I agree. That's what we've always done. Let's see. Kyle Lewis says, great topic. Glad you like it, Kyle. I think this is a hot topic. We might have to discuss this a few times. Mark, do you pay? Let's see. Mark, do you pay? Oh, I missed it. Your percentage based on the gross profit? Yeah, I already kind of went over that. It's on the net. It's on the gross, and we back checked for the net. Justin says, I have trouble fitting my existing crew into this model. I'd love to hear the perfect crew set up for this. One would be, if one could just be materialized, fully trained tomorrow. Again, I think, Justin, from what I understand about your business, it's a new business, and everything is moving. You're herding cats. You're still doing a bunch of the work, and you're training new people, and you're developing systems. Just understand, if you heard anything, how long we've been in business. Jim, Chad, and me have been in business a very long time. And so just be patient, constantly working on it. Chad didn't pop out of the gate knowing everything. I for sure didn't. I think probably Jim did know everything right off the bat. But just give yourself some grace and understand that it can be. I mean, what would you guys say about that? He's having trouble getting people into this model.
Well, it's just finding the right people to get in there, Justin. And so as we talk about this, having the people that are perform and have your vision is where it starts.
Yeah. And your profitability. You need to know what you need to make on these jobs. Don't ruin yourself doing this. Because you can absolutely pay people too much. You can, this is one of the hardest big moves ever. I think moving to this is one of the hardest things. Switching software can be one of the hardest things. Those two things can be very difficult. Okay. Kyle says a flat rate commission on flat rate prices. That's basically what we have, Kyle. We have flat rates. That's exactly right. Other question. Do you have a policy on tips?
Share them with me.
They come to Chad's pocket first. All right, so Chad, what's your policy on
tips? First, read that book.
I love to hear that my guys were getting tips.
Me too.
And those tips were strictly their tips.
Yeah.
And I love to hear it because I know my customers are happy if they're tipping my employees. So, hey, I'm good with it.
I never took anything out of it. It never went, they could share it however they wanted to. And that was their thing. Now, sometimes the customer would pay on a credit card or tip them on a check, and they had to back pay them, which we did. Well, how about you, Chad?
Yeah, same thing. They typically just get cash if that happens. So,
yeah. Okay. Every item has a price to it. That's correct. Every item. I mean, crazy amount of detail on our price sheet.
Yep.
We write it down too. Our handbook spiffs at our flat rate price. Okay, so he's got it written down. You need a complain button, and I'll send you a pic, Mark. Complain button. No, we don't have complain buttons. Okay. It's also important to constantly improvise and add products and services to give the educators more opportunities to increase their pay. And I did opt in to allow my name to show, but apparently Facebook hates me. So that sounds like one of your guys, Chad. So are you guys, he's saying it's important to add products and services. I couldn't agree more with that.
All the time. I mean, I think he's making a statement. I don't think he's saying that we don't. No.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to try new things.
Yeah, we do all the time.
And not everything's going to work, you know?
Yeah.
I launched a new product today in my business. I have no idea whether it's going to work, you know?
Well, and you can't, like, probably 50% of your ideas aren't going to work. Like, that's okay. I mean, if you can get 51% to work, that's good. You just got to understand that you've got to then go through the problem and work itself out. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had a great idea that did not pan out at all like I thought it would, but I kept improvising and moving and shaking. Sometimes you got to get rid of the idea, but sometimes you just got to tweak it enough to take everything into. You got to listen to your employees and help them understand, but then you have to have enough focus and enough vision to go, this is where we are needing to go and how am I going to get there? Jeff Bezos, he said, the vision is the most important thing, but all the tactics to get there have to be interchangeable and movable. That's just how it is. So if you say, hey, I'm going to do commission, you got to understand that's the goal, but all the tactics to get there, everybody on the team switching this has to know that this is a work in progress. There's a lot of questions. What's your average job total? Our average job total, it depends on the technician. Ours is somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000.
So is ours.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so let me just talk about this real quick. This person says hourly paid, you can only make so much. Yeah, let me just tell you the moment it switched for me. I remember driving up to my business, and a lot of people, if you've read my book, you know the story. I was driving up to my business. I was driving up in an old car. It was like a 1982, and this was probably in 2003 or 4. I can't remember the year. Driving up, and I had 17 employees, and I had a bunch of I had 8 kind of junky cars out in my parking lot that was theirs. So all these employees were either driving junky cars, having people drop them off, riding together, or driving my work vans home and back and forth. And I was driving a junky car. And I remember thinking, man, this is the business I've built. This is what I've built, Mark. And I could not be proud of it. I'm like, this is bad. I think I know the year now. It was like 2007. And so what's that?
You built a junkyard.
Built a junkyard. Congratulations, Mark. I got all these problems. This is right before I crashed it the last time. But I said, you know what? If I'm ever going to drive up in a nice car and I'm going to have nice things, I have to provide a way for them to have it too. They need to have a piece of the pie along with me. And I need to set up a system that is more fair, because the way I had it set up, paying them hourly, the guys who were making the most money were also the least productive. Now, they did good work, but if I thought it was going to take a day, it took 2 days. If I thought it should take 4 hours, it always took them 8 hours. And I realized one of my main guys was just trying to get into overtime by Wednesday. That was his goal. Hit overtime by Wednesday, and then I am making bank from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as many days as he wanted to work. And so that was what switched me from hourly to commission. All right. You still
I gotta go. I just got the birthday smile, and so thanks everybody.
Tell your wife happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Krista.
You're gonna say I'm gonna get on. Come on, Krista. Come on, say
get over here.
Happy birthday. Here we go.
Here she is.
Happy birthday.
All right, thanks everybody.
My birthday is Thursday.
Oh, okay. Well, come on, we'll chat with Chad. We'll talk about it. Happy birthday. I'll talk to you anyway.
Thank you for joining us. All right, so guys, we're going to stay on for a few more minutes. We've still got a full group of people and tons of question, and obviously we've hit on a nerve. Okay, so question. It is interesting to convince new hires that they can make money on commission when they come from outside the industry, and like most people, they think chimney work is only seasonal. How'd you handle that, Jim?
So the way I handled it is I kept it. I had a folder of stuff I used during the interview, and each year I would update a list of my guys' previous year's total.
Oh, that's
And
good.
and I didn't have the names, but I had it listed like Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3, and it showed their annual totals. And I just slide that across the desk. I'm like, here it is. These are what my 12 techs made last year.
That's what Kent does for our company. He says, I can understand it can be a new type of pay. You're going to have 30 days and you're going to be being paid well, and you can see if it's going to work. And after 30 days, every single guy of mine wants to go to commission. I mean, every time. Like, they want to sometimes do it on the 29th day or 28th day. Like, I got my SureFire down. I got this. Can I do it? Because we've got a big $10,000 job or a $20,000 job. I'm like, no, it's 30 days. It's 30 days. I'm sorry. Your commission, like, they can't wait to go to commission. And the better you get your company at getting jobs done, the better this is for them. So back to what Chad said, they need to help you smooth out, all the trips to Home Depot that they're not making money on. If they go to the Brickyard, they're not making money. If they're going back and forth on certain things and return trips and forgetting tools, that everybody gets focused on the same thing. And it's very helpful to get it when you're interviewing people to understand that, like Jim said, you got a track record of success. That's easy to play on. When you don't have a track record of success, you would use our track record of success. You'd use Jim Brewer's or Mark Stoner's or Chad's or whoever that we've done it before. Oh, I lost Jim. Jim, I lost you somehow. You froze and went off here. So hopefully it's not my thing. I think I'm still good. So if you come back on, Jim, I'll bring you in. Okay. Another question. I was terrified to go to commission from always being hourly, but now this is employee. Now I love being commission. It falls on me to do my best. If I don't do my job to the fullest, I'm not earning my fullest potential money-wise. I feel like being commissioned puts a higher value on the employee's output. 100%. That is absolutely right. And I find it's almost like the employees on commission have their own little business inside my business. It's up to them. Now, there's a big part. It's up to me to make sure they've got everything they need. But at the same time, it's really up to them. How good are they at talking to the customer, selling a job, getting the job completed? Like, it really is more high performance. And also, I talk about this too. It's also good scorekeeping. A lot of times when you pay hourly, people don't really know the score. They don't know how well they're doing, how well the company's doing, if they're really doing a great job or not. And then in this, they can almost give themselves their own raise. They can see how much money they've brought in. They can see their own scorekeeping so they know if they're doing well. And on hourly, sometimes you can't. Sometimes they think the owner is making a lot more money than he or she is, and they don't realize all the expenses going out. Jim just texted me. His internet died. Okay. So, all right. So then next question, Mark, there's a 33% there's a 33% include 401k health insurance benefits. Again, I think that number is high. I think most of the companies I work with are sitting at about 26%. They'd like to be about 26% after paying everything, paying the labor, paying the 401ks, paying all the benefits, the holidays. Somewhere around 26% is a good number to end up at. Okay, if that makes sense. 33% is high because you're going to also have, like what we talked about, these return trips, these hourlies. It's going to start creeping up. So you don't want to set your commission so that you already are above that line. So try to keep it I've seen some companies lower like 24, 25%. That's excellent. I'm always creeping up, into the 30% range. We pay too much. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish I could back my commission structure down more because we've put a lot of things in place and it's really good. We do pay really well. But I would start it lower and move it up as needed. Okay, so let me go a couple more questions. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Okay, so here is Jay Walker. Have you ever had a non-ethical salesman selling unnecessary items to get greater awards? Also, do the clients know everyone is on commission? Great question. Have I ever had a non-ethical salesman? I would say I probably have. But hey, Jim, internet die?
Yeah, my internet died. I think I'm hotspotting now off my phone.
Yeah, you're a little glitchy, and I noticed you froze with this really maniacal grin when I was talking to Mike, and then you were gone. Oh, you're frozen again. Okay, but I can still hear you. But so Jay, to answer your question, I do know of a situation where I had somebody. I had a guy several years ago was always selling liners for everything all the time, and so we did catch that one time, but now with as much a lot of photographs, a lot of documentation, there's no we don't have that because every job is reviewed. Then normally another crew's going out there to do it. So if somebody was selling work that wasn't needed, that would really pop out because all of our chimney sweeps and estimators hand off, and the guys that are doing the work don't sell the work. So that doesn't really happen with our system anymore. But also, do the clients know everyone is on commission? I don't know that. I would say that most don't. But I would tell them, I'd say my guys do get a percentage of the job to get it done. They get paid just like everybody else. It's a flat rate. You paid me a flat rate as Ashbusters to get the job done. I pay my guys a flat rate to get the job done. So if it takes us, if we thought it takes us 4 hours and takes us 8 hours, we don't charge you more, Mrs. Homeowner. But if I can get it done in 2 hours, it's all the same. And so everybody gets paid a flat rate. So I would have no problem telling people that. I know some people look at commission and think it's dirty, but I really don't have an issue with it. And I would tell anybody, yeah, you pay me X and I pay them X to do it. A lot of people like this product or like this thing. Okay, Jameson says, what percentage commission goes to sales versus installation teams on a split commission model? That's a great question. I hate giving too much of the percentages on something like this because I don't want my percentages to ruin you take my percentages and just go with it without doing research, without talking to your accountant, without really understanding, because your model and my model are way different. But I don't know really how to say this. I mean, it can be anywhere probably on the sales model from 5 to 10%. I'm just going to give you a range to sell the job, somewhere between 5 and 10%. And then the install model would probably, Jim's coming back. Let's see if Jim, hey buddy, got a better connection?
I think so.
So I think, and Jim, I'll throw this back over to you. The question was, what percentage commission goes to sales versus installation? And to wrap up what I was saying, more money goes to installers than sales, but I take the total commission that I want to pay. And let's just say I say 25% was how much we're going to pay as a company. Then I would say, okay, 7% goes for sales and 18% goes to the install crew or something like that. And let me just clarify another thing. Let's just say my commission total on a job is going to be 25%. I don't care if one guy is on the job or 10 guys are on the job. I'm still paying out 25% for the total job. So if it's a 10-guy job, it's probably a $100,000 job. And then I'm going to pay out $25,000 in commissions. And that gets spread among the 10 guys, sometimes unequally because you got leads. But I've got a chunk of money that I'm going to pay to that crew to get it done. And if one guy did it all, he'd get the $25,000. So I keep my percentage the same, whether it's one guy or 10 guys. Jim, how did you handle splitting when you had sales guys versus installation?
Yeah, so depending on what it was, somewhere between 5 to 10% was the sales commission, and then 10 to 20% was the install commission, but never more than a total of 30. But typically the installation portion got the bigger commission.
I agree. I tell you, if you don't do it that way, you're going to get a lot of mad installers because they did all the work and the sales guys make. And I can, even at my commission structure, there's times guys get mad because they had a really hard job and the salesman made really good money for selling it. But the more you have good communication, the more they are a team. And that salesman wants the installers to be happy with their jobs that they sell. So, but yeah, we do split it, and you take the total that you want to pay out and split it amongst the salesman and the installers.
Yeah, but I think the installer in general needs a bigger hunk.
Oh, for sure.
And
I've got it broken down to lead installer and apprentice. So the apprentice makes okay percentage. The lead installer, he's going on big job after big job after big job. He makes the lion's share. Now, there's times that the lead installer can share 50-50 with it. He's got the chance to, when I put a lead guy, let's just say it's 5 guys and I got a lead, he gets the choice to split the money up amongst all the guys, and he can choose how to do it because this guy was only on the job for a day. This guy really worked his tail off. He can split the money up the way he wants. And I can tell you this, most of the time, those guys are super fair about it because they're in the trenches with them working. And I give the lead guy the chunk. We just finished a $350,000 job for a big apartment complex. And basically the lead guy had the chance to deal with a lot of money. And he was super fair about it, and he made sure all of his guys got paid very well with the chunk of money that he had to spend, and everybody did well on it. And it was an amazing job for us, very profitable. Okay, so another question. Do we pay installer salary or whatever? I don't like any production guys on salary. Nobody in my company that's in production is on salary. How about you, Jim? How did you handle that?
So basically they got paid on commission for the work that they got done. Then, I had like a lead installer who was more of a field supervisor, and he was on a salary, and he'd go out and do some jobs. But for the most part, I want him on commission. I mean, commission for selling, commission for getting it done. I like commission. It makes guys, work harder. It makes them produce more.
So let me just kind of explain how my company is set up a little bit. I'm on a salary plus bonus. My executives, my chief operations officer, chief financial, they're on salaries plus bonuses, and the bonuses are based on profitability. Then I have a group of office staff, and they're mostly all hourly. I have had one of my general manager was on salary, but now most of them are on hourly, and plus we have bonuses too. Then we also have, then it moves down to my production manager and my project manager. They're on salary, and then moving then to the real production people, the salesmen, the installers, the chimney sweeps, the gas guys, the metal fab guys, they're all on a production or commission-based pay. They're all paid to produce. So that's kind of how I have it broken up in my company. Did you have it kind of, I'm sure you guys had it, your office was different than your field staff, correct, Jim?
Yeah, so our office staff was paid, an hourly wage, but they did get what we called scheduling bonuses.
Okay.
For every appointment they booked, they got a bonus. That made them, pick that phone up on the first ring and maybe try a little bit harder to actually book the job. I would have, if I could have figured out a way to, to put office people on commission, I probably would have. because I believe in it. But they were mostly hourly, but they got a commission for what they sold.
And that's kind of back to what Kyle was saying, some spiffs. Like we had a spiff contest for dryer vents, upselling dryer vents. The girls got an extra $15 for every one they booked or something like that, like a spiff, like some kind of production. Or I've seen companies pay a bonus to the people on the phones for a certain close rate on the phone. Like you can tell on the phone scheduling systems what your close rate is or something like that. Like when I tried to pay like what you did, Jim, my girls didn't like to compete with each other, but they did want to have something as a team. So you have to kind of determine, who's, how to spiff out your company. Kyle says, I give all tips to my guys. If it's just me on the call, I give it to my CSR. Yeah, great. I mean, that's just all right. Another question. And fully committed. Training has been huge help for me. And being trained properly and fully, in my experience, going behind other companies' work that aren't trained properly are the cause of many things I have come across in doing repairs. That sounds like we're talking about return trips. Let me get to some questions. Do you have two guys on a truck selling? Do they split commission? Okay, great question. For us, our estimators are one person per truck most of the time. Every once in a while, they have to have a help for a ladder assist or something like that. But in general, they're by themselves. They get the commission. When I have two guys that say a sweep truck, and my sweep trucks almost always have an apprentice. The apprentice doesn't get anything on the sale. If they find a big job, they don't do it. They estimate it. They hand it off to the install crew. The guy that sells it, he gets a 5% sale. Some of them can get more than that, but he gets a percentage to hand off. As long as the job went right, he gets a commission, but he can split it with the apprentice if he wants. But in general, it's the lead tech. How did you guys handle that? Jim? Oh, Jim's frozen. You're back.
Almost exactly the same. Yeah, almost exactly the same, Mark. Our sweep teams were typically one person unless they had an apprentice with them, but the apprentice was just straight hourly.
Yeah. So, and I've seen that too, Jim. That brings up a point. Some people put their main tech on production and their sweep or their tech apprentices on hourly. We did that for a long time, and we paid the apprentice per hour. The main tech really wanted to get the job done. The apprentice didn't necessarily want to get it done as fast as the tech did. But again, Jim found what worked for him and very successful at it. Okay, another question. Mark, so at 30% labor costs, what's the percentage for 401k, health insurance, and payroll taxes? A lot of that depends on your state. And again, I think 30% labor cost is high, so please don't start this thing too high. But you'd have to talk to it. For me, it's about 5 or 6% more when I add all the benefits in. What do you have on that, Jim?
Well, our initial commission rate, like for a service tech going out cleaning chimneys, if he was CSIA certified, which was a minimum standard in our company, he got 20%.
Right.
And then there were things they could do to raise that number. They could get additional qualifications or certifications to raise that number.
Yeah.
But we started at 20%.
Yeah. So that is 20%. That doesn't include the helper. And also, then it doesn't include the taxes. You're paying 20% on the gross. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So ours is lower than that. Ours is somewhere in the 18% for the main tech and about 7% for the helper on the gross. And then, so that's kind of how we do that. So we're high on some of these things. But we've also got a lot of support staff for them. When I set this commission structure up, over 10 years ago, they didn't have so much support staff. So, some of that is, again, you need to know your numbers to put this in place. But again, I think it's one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, 20%. I think now 20% is probably too high.
It is.
I started at 20%, I don't know, almost 40 years ago when we were charging $45 a chimney cleaning.
Right.
Okay. Now at $250 a chimney cleaning at 20%, is pretty nice. But 40 years ago, it was like $9 a chimney.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's it's not all profit, but it's more profitable than other things that have, your cost of goods in them. So Kyle says every commission base is set off our profit on whatever we do and is reviewed with CFO and accounting. Right. So the only issue with that, and that's really the best way to do it. The only issue with it is the speed of your accounting. And so if you pay every 2 weeks, or I've seen some companies have long jobs that have to be paid on at different times. So if you can get the speed like Chad had down, the speed of the accounting or your systems down, whatever works, but on the profit is the best way to do it. And Bart Ogden, who is a master at doing this, he says sales percentage will be larger on tech sweeps because they are selling and producing the whole deal. It's totally right. They are, and they don't complain about the job as much either when they sell it and do it. At Master Services, all production and office staff are hourly, plus they get bonuses for hitting metrics and goals. Office girls get a commission if they do a callback and sell a job. Okay, so they've got a system to everybody. Everybody gets a piece of the pie when we're winning, and everybody kind of feels it when we're losing. And so I think we've gotten through most of the questions. I know we're about 30 minutes over. Let me just put a cap on this.
I have a couple of comments too I'd like to throw out.
You go first, Jim. Go ahead.
One thing I don't think we've mentioned is once you have your commission set up, it eliminates the conversation of, hey, boss, when am I going to get a raise?
Yes.
Because, they get a raise when we raise prices.
Yes.
Or they do more work.
They get more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. And then, just to close, I love paying big checks to guys because I knew if they were getting big checks, they were bringing in big money. So I never felt like, damn, man, I paid him $4,000 last week. Damn. Yeah. I never felt like that. It was always, hell yeah. I hope you do it next week.
Yeah. When I remember when I paid my first guy $1,000 for the week, and I'm like, my gosh, what did he do? This is a long time ago. I'm like, what do you do for $1,000? This is when we were on hourly. And now all those little things that would bother me with the guys, messing around or the job canceling or stuff happening, or, he got into a lot of overtime, all that would bother me. On commission, it doesn't bother me at all. And like you said, writing that big check means he brought the money in and he gets a piece of it. And then you got to believe that helps morale. When those guys talk, when they get big checks, they do talk, and then they're also, they want to do commission because there's a chance to find these big Easter eggs in the work. So, there's another question here. This one says, really sounds like a lot of incoming paperwork. It is at first. It definitely is better. It's more than hourly for sure, 100%. But what's more important, paying a guy hourly or paying him on production and figuring out how to get paperwork done faster? For us, it is probably a few more hours in the week to do it. But the results outweigh the paperwork, and there's people that are brought in just to do the paperwork. That's their job. It does create some jobs, but it creates a whole nother culture of performance. And what would you say about that, Jim?
Yeah, there's no way around tracking commission is going to be more effort. It just is. Yeah. Try and keep it simple. Once you craft your commission plan, make sure you can write it down and then hand it to somebody and say, number one, do you understand this? And number two, could you figure this guy's pay?
Right.
it's gotta be manageable, but there's no way around it being more work.
So let me just say this too, we make the technicians figure out their own commission first. For us, like Jim said, for us, the tech figures out his own commission. He knows the rates. Everybody knows the rates. They figure it first. Then when they hand the paperwork into the CSR checks it versus reality and then puts it in the system in what's called a commission report. And then that goes to payroll. Payroll then checks it again to make sure, yes, this money is right. Yes, pay him. So there's a multi-check process, but it starts with the technician in our system to make sure that that they know how much they were getting. And sometimes they're wrong, but in general, they understand what they're getting. And like Jim said, the simpler you can keep this, the more chance it'll have for success. If you develop a really complex system, there's a great chance of failure. So try to keep it simple and then move to complexity. Don't start with complexity. There's still more questions coming in. Okay. All right. So this one says, has anyone been dinged from the Department of Labor for this type of pay scale? So that to that point, I have not, but I have. We mentioned that on the beginning of the show. You need to know your state laws. You need to make sure that your system follows your state and federal laws. Now, most of the time that I've seen it all circles around minimum wage, making sure you're paying more than the minimum wage for the job, including overtime, if you get into that.
And don't confuse paying commission with independent contractor status.
Okay.
These people are your employees, and the commission is just how you arrive at their gross pay number. You're still taking out all the taxes and stuff. There are chimney guys out here paying commission and thinking, okay, I'm handling all these guys like subcontractors, and not taking out taxes. That's probably going to get them in trouble.
Correct. Yeah, these are your employees. Your commission structure still has to be above the minimum wage for sure. Then let's see. I'm confused by the time you pay workers' comp, 401k. How are you making money at 30%? Again, it's 30% after you've paid all that. But let's just say, again, you need to make your money. So let's just say you got 30% for labor. Most of cost of goods in chimney businesses are somewhere in the 12 to 18%. So now that's about 50% of the job is what it costs for the labor and the materials typically. And then not like with a stove or something, a high cost of goods, but I'm just saying a standard job. And then you got 50% on the other side to pay your other half. So ideally, if you can get the job done for somewhere in the 40% range with labor and materials, then you got 60% on the other side to pay all the other things. That has typically been a good number for most chimney services to work in. Now, I'm not telling you how to run your business. Please, please, please. I'm in the consultant role. You must talk to your local people, know your local laws, and have people on your team looking at your specific thing. But in general, these principles work and will work in most situations. Let's see. Last thing, we were told it was up to the person who does the audit. Annoying. I don't know. I haven't ever had the problem, but I do know people have been dinged on it. You do have to make sure you need to know your laws before you put any of this in place, and then figure out a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it in your state. I would almost guarantee some way to do it. Well, Jim, we're an hour and 34 minutes.
I think that's a record for SureFire Live.
It is a record. And we've had, the majority of the people stayed on and asked a ton of questions. Thank you guys so much for these questions. Obviously, this is a hot topic. I was going to bring on a couple more people. Alan Rush has a lot of insight on. He works with a lot of companies and knows how they pay, and I really wanted his side on it, but he had a commitment. And Jake Loeffler also has, some different thoughts on this. I'm also, if anybody, has a whole different way they pay people and they're successful with it, I just want to show you what we think, but I'm also open to hearing, this is a big topic and there's other ways to do it. And I love hearing and learning. So guys, feel free to reach out to me. A lot of people enjoyed this show. Thank you for all the compliments. Jim, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it. It was fun. Maybe we should do pay stuff, again, get Jake and Alan and get some different views.
I will. I'm probably going to do this probably in 30 more days. I'm going to do it again probably next month because we're all moving into busy season and this is very important. And if you're ever going to roll out a commission structure, now's the time to figure it out and roll it out in busy season. Do not roll out a commission structure. And if you ever have a slow season, we haven't had one for a while, but don't roll this out in the slow time. You got to roll this out going into when they're going to make the most money and you have sales and stuff to figure this out. All right, Jim. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. We'll see you. Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, man. This was a hot topic. I love when we get on hot topics. Thank you for going back and forth with me, asking questions, clarifying everything. To me, that's what this is all about. If you have ideas on questions of how to, like you'd like us to cover, you can email me, mark@ashbusters.net. And that's probably my most direct email. Or if you have, other comments on the show. All right, guys, thanks. We will do it again next week and we'll talk to you soon.